What is up, everybody? How you doing? Today, we're out here with Jeff Meyer, and we're gonna work on our toe-side carves and really cleaning them up. Why doing this? Because I want to get to doing basically a new tutorial, updated tutorial for Euro carves, laid out carves, extreme carves. I like extreme carves and laid out carves. Why call it Euro carve? Just because some guys from Europe back in the day started laying out some turns really nicely, and we always have to preface it with Euro? Come on. What is it? American snowboarding? American McTwist? Come on. If every trick in the snowboarding world was named after the guy or continent that it was made on, that'd be pretty whack. So I'm calling it laid out carves in the future and or extreme carves.
So you're not discriminating by country or continent of origin.
No discrimination, no discrimination.
All right.
I don't think they could claim it for a lifetime, the name.
No.
But yeah, let's clean up toe-side carves. So basically, I haven't talked to Jeff yet about what I want to do here, but let's capture him and me doing just some really standard, without getting into technical jargon, some just standard, nice toe-side carves, and then let's take it to the next level from there. Ready to make some turns?
Let's do it.
So there we made some nice, clean toe-side carves, pretty standard. Next, we're going to try to make our turns earlier and earlier and actually get the downhill edge down. Now, this is extremely dangerous. If you're skidding your turns and try this, you'll catch an edge and face plant. So you have to make sure you're carving and leaving a single track in the snow. Trying this on flatter areas will be good at first. You definitely kind of need some speed to get the downhill edge down, but basically the technique to really be able to get that downhill edge in is cutting straight across the run. So that's why every time we go, we're gonna wait, make sure there's no one around, and then do it and know that it's safe. So we're out here very first thing in the morning when it's empty. That's the perfect time to try this. When the resort's busy, if you're doing this over and over, you will get hit. So please take care of yourself and don't get hit. So as you see, we have a nice single track that's cut into the snow. So if you're leaving that nice single track, then you're ready for this. So the technique is really just bending your knees massively, coming across the run on your heel side. So I also need you kind of opening up your body, making sure you're good to go, it's clear on that side. So bending the knees, and actually squatting the turn a lot more than your average turn. So let's get one more and then let's cap. All right, so once you're making nice ones of those where you're really cutting straight across and getting some early action in the turn, and I'm going to explain the difference of an early part of the turn versus late part of the turn, because the physics change quite a bit. But for those laid out carves, if you want to drift them at all, you really got to make a super early turn. So this time we're going to do it with almost without touching our hands or elbows, maybe a hand a bit, fingers ain't too bad, but we're going to really squat the turn excessively, because that's the setup for those big laid out carves. All right, so the next step with this is really learning to bend your knees completely. Super nice compacted squat versus hunched over. So no arching the back over to reach the snow. Bend your knees so much that the snow comes to you, basically. You can almost try to drive your knees down to the snow. It's best not to hit your knees in the snow, because weird things can happen then, and most of you will boot out by that time. But driving the knees down for sure, and full squat as much as you possibly can. So let's get you doing some more of those.
Okay.
Really just working on bending the knees a ton. Getting low to the ground with the knees without hunching over. All right, with those toe-side carves, it's really about, yeah, trying to get that turn earlier and earlier. And the reason why, let's take a 1-minute break, go home and check it out on the whiteboard. Score, $2 on the Walmart clearance rack. So a snowboard's edge, the long way, is not completely flat. It's got some curvature to it. Let's see if we can see it. And that's what, when you tilt the board on edge, what will help you make the carves turn. So here we have a 2-scale model of a miniature snowboard. We're going to trace the outline of this board and see the curvature of it. Alright, here we can see it has a slight curvature in the side of the board, and that's what tilted on edge, and it will make the shape of that turn basically. Let's just see what the basically is generally showing us. So not to scale, but here's basically what nice carved turns look like. Half circles, C's. That little gap there is the transfer of edge to the other edge, whoosh. Then transfer to another edge, whoosh. Make a nice C. What most snowboarders' problems is they never get this C part. They're just going down the hill, and then it's way too late to really complete a turn, and it'll force a skidded turn. But even these perfect turns, even if you are carving essentially perfect, this isn't the physics of what happens. So let's show what the real physics are. So what happens in the real world is when you tilt your board on edge, the more you tilt it, the more sharp you'll turn. But even with the exact same amount of tilt of your board, you'll get different turn shapes because of how much pressure is being put on it. If you add a ton of pressure to your board, you're going to get a sharper turn because the board decambers more, making a tighter radius. So at the beginning of turns, it's very hard to get a lot of pressure on your board, so the turn is big and like not doing much. And then at the end of the turn, when the board is more down the hill from you, all of a sudden there's massive amount of pressure and the radius really sharpens up. So not much pressure, gaining, and as soon as there's more pressure, your board will just want to cut super quick. So not much pressure, not much better, and pressure, and then it cuts. Not much pressure, and then it cuts. So what we got to try to do is purposely apply more pressure up here in this early part of the turn. And here's why. So here's what happens in real life. We got figure 1, and we've got figure 2. This is the real life physics of what the board wants to do. You put it on edge, and if you want to do a laid out carve, all of a sudden you're down here and you start to lay it out, and all of a sudden the pressure has become so much on the board it just wants to cut right back and your turn is done instantly. So what we want to do is make our turns earlier and earlier and purposely put pressure into that low pressure area early in the turn. That's a low pressure area, but if we force it, we can make it turn more right there, and by doing that, then you can start to lay out a turn right here and get all this distance of doing it, and it feels a lot better than almost going straight down the hill and the turn is done. Let's go back in the mountain. All right, how was that? Does that make some sense on at the end of a turn, and the turn really sharpens up when your board is down the hill from you. So that's why it's almost best to try to get your board up the hill from you and you leaning down. But this is kind of an advanced turn. I know it's just a turn, but if you're not carving, it's not going to work. And if you're not carving it, if you're really struggling to leave tracks in the snow, just take a lesson. Any professional instructor, they'll teach you a lot differently, especially with shoulder alignment and stuff, than I do for certain balancing purposes and other reasons. But they will help you get leaving single tracks in the line. And if you're not getting a lesson, just slow it all down. I see most people when they're in groups and stuff, snowboarding with their friends, they're riding at way too fast of a pace to try to play around with this. So first thing in the morning by yourself even is a really good way to try this. When you're trying this with bending your knees, and you kind of said it on the chairlift, it was one of your first times trying to get your downhill edge down like that. Any thoughts on that? And kind of takes just muscle, and
we're also used to doing our usual routine, so it breaks the routine. So it's I don't have it dialed yet. It's not easy. It does feel really cool once you engage and then you ride. It's basically initiating the turn earlier than you're used to.
Exactly.
And once you do it, it's awesome. So
Yeah.
I like it.
Cool. And then that's the style of turn, with getting the low as you can, crouching all the way down, not hunching over for the ground. That's the style of turn that you'll need before you start doing these awesome laid down extreme carves. You want to join me for some of those type of turns?
Someday.
So let's do it someday. We're gonna work on a couple more of these.
Today is someday.
Okay, we're gonna work on a couple more of these turns, and in the next video I'm gonna bring you the best tutorial ever for laid out extreme carves. Thank you for watching. Happy shredding and kapla! Thanks for participating, Jeff.